Wizards of the Coast has released another Unearthed Arcana over on D&D Beyond, this one with a focus on arcane subclasses. It has 2024 revisions for 4 wizard subclasses, the fighter's Arcane Archer, which desperately needed it, the Arcane Domain Cleric, another update on the Hexblade Warlock from the horror-themed UA earlier this year, and 2 new subclasses with the Monk's Tattooed Warrior and the Sorcerer's Ancestral Sorcery. But that's for another video. Use the timestamps and chapters below to jump to whatever interests you, and don't forget to subscribe and comment to let us know what you think. With the 2024 changes to subclass feature level, Cleric gets 4 spells at level 3 instead of 2 at level 1 and 2 at level 3. The differences come in the spells. Magic Circle at level 5 has been replaced with Counterspell, which is great, I think. While Magic Circle has its uses, it's hard to argue against the frequency that Counterspell is useful versus Magic Circle. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if there were some Cleric fans out there who were disappointed in losing it, especially with Counterspell changes in 2024, and the fact that a lot of other classes can take Counterspell as well. Planar Binding at level 9 has been replaced with Big B's Hand. This is another great change given how varied the uses of Big B's Hand is and the quicker casting time. While Planar Binding does have its uses, with a 1-hour casting time, the spell is much more niche and probably more plot dependent, opposed to being able to just summon a giant hand for anything from punching a dragon to flipping off a shopkeeper. The Arcana Domain Cleric also receives a buff to the level 3 feature Arcane Initiate. Instead of just getting proficiency in the Arcana skill, you now get expertise, and you can replace your wizard cantrips whenever you level up with another one if you're not using them as much as you thought you would. The 2014 Arcana Domain Cleric has Channel Divinity Arcane Abjuration, which is being replaced with Modify Magic. Here's what Arcane Abjuration did. As an action, one Celestial, Elemental, Fey, or Fiend makes a Wisdom saving throw, or is turned for 1 minute, or until they take damage. A turned creature must spend its turn trying to move as far away from you as it can and cannot take reactions. Now, after you reach 5th level, when a creature fails this saving throw, it is also banished for 1 minute as per the banishment spell, requiring no concentration. Now, a free banish with no concentration is pretty good, but it had a challenge rating restriction on it, with a CR 4 being the highest you could banish, and that's only if you were at level 17. So you lose that Channel Divinity and instead gain Modify Magic, which gives you 2 options to use your Channel Divinity to alter your spells as you cast them. The first is Fortifying Spell. One target of your spell gains a number of temporary hit points equal to 2d8 plus your Cleric level. At minimum, that's 5 temp HP at level 3, and at maximum 36 at level 20. Now that's not nothing, and it does scale with level, but when you can only do it 1 to 3 times per rest, it doesn't feel like it's going to move the needle very often. You also have Tenacious Spell. When you cast a spell that forces a creature to make a saving throw, choose one target of the spell you can see, roll 1d6, and apply the number rolled as a penalty to the target's saving throw. Now this one is pretty good. Being able to add another layer of potential failure to a key saving throw like a banish or a hold person could be clutch. Team that up with a Cutting Words Bard, or find a way to give an enemy disadvantage on the save as well, and this can be a very potent option. Easily more potential than Fortifying Spell and the old Arcane Abjuration. At level 6, the Arcana Cleric Spellbreaker has been renamed to Dispelling Recovery, but it's still functionally fulfilling the same role as it did in 2014. This change is more along the lines of providing clearer language, allowing more consistent use within rules as written. Instead of just ending one spell on a creature, you get to cast Dispel Magic as a bonus action without expending a spell slot. So any magical effect, whether from a spell, a monster ability, or some feature, you can potentially end it. Your use of Dispelling Recovery is limited to Wisdom mod per long rest, whereas Spellbreaker was only limited by your spell slots and levels. Overall, I think a change for the better. At level 8, the Arcana Domain Clerics used to get potent spell casting, which lets you add your Wisdom mod to your Cleric cantrips, which has since been baked into the Cleric class with D&D 2024. At level 17, Arcana Domain Clerics get Arcane Mastery, and it gets a small change, but a good one. You get to learn 4 wizard spells, 1 from spell levels 6, 7, 8, and 9. The change is now that when you hit level 18, 19, and 20, you can swap out one of those spells for another from the wizard list of the same level. At level 3, Arcane Archer lore gets a nice buff to skills. Instead of needing to choose between proficiency in the Arcana or Nature skill, you get both. And if you already have one of them, or both of them, you can choose proficiency in a different skill of your choice, and you still get to learn either Prestidigitation or Druidcraft. Also at level 3, you can now use Arcane Archer with any weapon that has the ammunition property, not just bows. So crossbows, and if your campaign uses them, firearms are on the table. Also, cannons use ammunition. The arcane shot itself got a lot better, allowing you to use it more consistently. Instead of just twice per short or long rest, you can now use it a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier. Arcane Shot also now uses an Arcane Shot die to deal additional damage, which does scale with your level, starting at 1d6 and capping at 1d12 at level 18. This doesn't really solve the issue of damage on your shots. If we compare Beguiling Shot from 2014, it deals 2d6 force damage at level 3 versus 2024, which does 2 rolls of your Arcane Shot die, a d6, so it starts out the same. And as your die grows, it'll do more damage until you hit level 18, where it's now doing 2d12, and 2014, which sees its damage bump at level 18, does 2d6. Same damage ceiling, but more reliable results with the 2014 version. The Arcane Archer's Ever-Ready Shot, which was previously granted at level 15, is now granted at level 7, but otherwise remains unchanged, giving you 1 Arcane Shot when you roll initiative, if you have none left. The rest of the features are just increases to your Arcane Shot die, which feels kind of bad. You do get more Arcane Shot at each of these levels as well, but a great subclass should feel like it's building upon itself in a way that's more than just, here's one more shot effect, doesn't quite do it. These changes put Arcane Archer in a much better position, but it feels more like it's catching up to where it should have been in 2014 and not where a lot of classes in 2024 are now. I'd still rather play a Ranger over an Arcane Archer any day. Now, these aren't the first revisions to Hexblade. We saw it in a previous Unearthed Arcana with a focus on horror subclasses. Here are the new changes that are coming along with it. In the Hexblade spell list, magic weapons has been completely removed. Bestow Curse was also replaced with Dispel Magic. Now, this is a good change, with Hexblade's Curse once again becoming its own feature, more on that in a minute, and Dispel Magic just being a generally widely applicable spell. Big changes to the level 3 feature with Hexblade's Curse, compared to both the last Unearthed Arcana and its 2014 version. Now, you can still use a bonus action to curse the target, but if you use a spell that curses, such as Hex or Bestow Curse, you can put Hexblade's Curse on it as part of the casting instead of using a bonus action. Now, if the spell's duration is longer than 1 minute, then it'll remain for that amount of time. Hexblade's maneuvers have mostly been scrapped, which is a shame because I thought it was a cool way to bring the subclass more in line with the theme of the Hexblade and the melee focus of the subclass, but some of those benefits are sprinkled throughout this new iteration. So what are the benefits of the Hexblade's Curse? The first is Hungering Hex, which was formerly the level 6 feature Life Stealer in the last UA. This allows you to regain 1d8 plus your Charisma mod hit points when you drop a creature to 0 hit points. You also get Accursed Shield, which gives you a +2 bonus to AC when you are within 10 feet of your Hexblade's Curse. Now, this is nowhere near as good as it was in 2014, lacking the damage equal to your proficiency bonus that you got, and healing much less with 1d8 instead of your Warlock level, which also means that it doesn't scale anymore. It also feels like you're giving up too much for Accursed Shield than you're getting. You're only getting that bonus when your Hexblade's Curse is up, which lasts for a minute, and you're next to them, which means any other time you're not wearing armor or you're not using a shield, why not just use the shield and have the +2 bonus, or just wear armor and get more than that +2 bonus you're likely getting. A new feature at level 3 for the Hexblade Warlock is called Unyielding Will. When you succeed on a saving throw to maintain concentration, you deal 2d6 necrotic damage to creatures of your choice within a 10-foot emanation, but only once per long rest. If you fail a concentration saving throw, you can choose to succeed, gaining temporary hit points equal to 1d10 plus your Warlock level, but only once per long rest. Doesn't seem as unyielding as advertised. At level 6, the Hexblade gets Malign Brutality. This has replaced Life Stealer, and this is where the Hexblade subclass starts to finally feel worthwhile. Harrowing Hex is a highlight of this feature, allowing you to make a bonus action attack if you use your action to cast a spell that uses a spell slot. I'm a big fan of the Caster Martial hybrids having features that allow them to mix melee with magic to fulfill that feeling of fighting with a weapon and weaving magic in and out of it, as opposed to needing to choose each turn if you want to use magic or your weapon. Stymieing Mark, previously part of the last UA's Hexblades maneuvers, is now here as Hindering Cursed. Hitting a target with your curse gives it disadvantage on its next saving throw before your next turn, an inescapable hex, which is terrifying, by the way, as it allows you to teleport your speed straight towards your cursed target if they end more than 30 feet away from you. There is no reaction needed here. Imagine trying to run away. You use your speed, you dash 60 feet. The Warlock in pursuit of you teleports 30 feet, they move, they dash 90 feet total, All my BBEGs are getting this from now on. At level 10, Hexblade's Warlock still have their Armor of Hexes, but it gets a change that allows it to scale, reducing the damage you take by your level instead of 2d6 plus your Charisma mod. Now, even with 2d6 plus 5 Charisma having the chance to reduce the damage by more, avoiding low rolls on the d6s makes this much better and much more reliable. Though the 2014 Armor of Hexes allowing you to completely avoid an attack may have made combat more swingy and was less reliable, I think I preferred the big risk to big reward of it. At level 14, Masterful Hex gets more usability with the changes to Hexblade's Curse. It still has the traditional crit on a 19 to 20 when attacking your cursed target, and it now also has Explosive Hex, allowing you to cause your curse to blow up, dealing your choice of necrotic, psychic, or radiant damage to creatures you choose in a 30-foot emanation, and reducing their speed by 10 for 1 round. Though you can only use it once per long rest unless you expend a spell slot, which feels a bit lame to me. Warlocks at this point have level 5 spell slots, and doing 3d6 damage in 30 feet is worth that? I think the damage could be bumped up, or maybe include a proficiency bonus modifier to guard against rolling those 1s and 2s. Finally, you also get Hex Restoration that allows you to restore 1 expended use of Hexblade's Curse when you finish a short rest, or use your Magical Cunning feature to regain spell slots. The Conjurer Wizard's Benign Transposition has been dropped from level 6 to level 3, which is nice, but it also got a small nerf. In both cases, you can only use this once per long rest on its own. The feature lets you teleport 30 feet or swap places with a willing creature within 30 feet. Now in 2014, you could use this again if you cast a conjuration spell using a spell slot. But in 2024, you have to expend a level 2 or higher spell slot to refresh its use. This change also means that Minor Conjuration, which lets you create an inanimate, non-magical object, is gone. A blow to players who could be creative with this feature in a pinch. Now I can see players on both sides of the argument on whether this is better or worse for the subclass. At level 6, Benign Transportation gets an upgrade with Distant Transposition, doubling its range and allowing you to regain it on a short or a long rest. And at level 14, another upgrade with Quick Transposition as the new capstone feature, which allows you to use it as a reaction to an attack on you to swap places with another willing creature who takes the attack instead. Conjuration Wizard gets another upgrade like all other wizard subclasses in D&D 2024 with Conjuration Savant, which throws out the gold and time discount to spells related to your school of magic when learning them, and instead just gives you more spells of that school for free at certain levels. Conjurer Wizard's old level 14 capstone feature, Durable Summons, is now granted at level 6 and gives any creature you create through a conjuration spell with a spell slot temporary hit points equal to twice your level. Like all other wizard subclasses, Enchantment Savant throws out the gold and time discount to spells related to your school of magic and instead just gives you more spells of that school for free at certain levels. The old level 2 feature for the Enchanter Wizard, Hypnotic Gaze, is out, which let you charm and incapacitate a creature if they failed to save, and you could maintain this effect indefinitely if you stayed within 5 feet of the creature and used your action to do so. Useful, but limiting and niche. Replacing at level 3 is Enchanting Talker, which lets you add your intelligence modifier to any charisma check you make. You also get proficiency in Deception, Intimidation, or Persuasion. At the same level, you also get Vexing Movement, which allows you to use both the Disengage and Dash actions as a bonus action after you cast an enchantment spell with a spell slot, but only a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, and you regain uses on a long rest. Formerly at level 8, the Enchanting Wizard got Instinctive Charm, which lets you use a reaction to potentially redirect an attack roll against you to another creature. This is being replaced with Reflecting Charm. This new feature uses a reaction to reduce the damage of an attack roll against you, and if the attacker fails to save, they also take damage equal to half your wizard level plus your intelligence modifier. Overall, this feels like a big nerf for this subclass because you can only use this one time per long rest unless you expend a level 2+ spell slot. Now, there may be some moments where a big damage attack being halved will come in handy, but the damage from this is nothing compared to the old feature that would let you avoid an attack altogether and maybe redirect it to an enemy and was only limited by if the target succeeded against your save, which would make them immune to it until the next long rest. At level 10, Enchanter Wizard gets Split Enchantment. Now this sees a change in its wording. Instead of being able to cast enchantments with only one target onto 2 targets, if an enchantment spell lets you target more creatures with a higher level cast, the number of creatures you can target increases by 1. Number of uses is limited by your intelligence modifier. The Enchantment Wizard's old level 14 capstone Alter Memories, which let you use your charm magic on creatures without them ever knowing it, and even erasing memories of when they were charmed, is being replaced by Bolstering Belief. Now this new feature grants you Power Word Fortify as an always prepared spell, which you can cast without using a spell slot once. Each target of that spell is granted temporary hit points, and they get advantage on saving throws against the Charmed and Frightened condition, so long as they have those temporary hit points still on them. There's also a potential debate to be had here about rules as written and rules as intended with this feature. It says with this feature you can cast the spell without expending a spell slot, and allies get the advantage on Charm and Fear saves from this feature. Then it says once you cast the spell with this feature, you can't do so again until you take a long rest. So if you cast this spell with a spell slot, do allies still get the advantage or not because you're not using that feature to do so? Or is the intent that when you cast it without a spell slot or through the feature, that they get the advantage on Charm and Fear while they have the temporary hit points? For the Necromancer Wizard, like all other wizard subclasses in 2024, Necromancy Savant throws out the discount that you get on gold and time when copying new spells into your spellbook, and instead just gives you free spells at certain levels from the Necromancy school. Necromancy Wizard's 2014 level 2 feature, Grim Harvest, becomes part of the new level 3 feature, Necromancy Spellbook. Grim Harvest used to give you 2 times the spell level in healing if you killed a creature with a spell that used a spell slot, or 3 times that if it was a necromancy spell. Now it only gives you the spell level plus your intelligence modifier, and only for necromancy spells, but you no longer have to kill a creature, you just have to use the spell slot. And instead of healing, it's temporary hit points, but you can also put those temporary hit points on another creature. I'm sure the paladins are going to love the idea of being protected by death magic. You also get resistance to necrotic damage on top of that. Necromancer Wizard's Undead Thralls at level 6 has been redesigned and no longer allows you to use Animate Dead or target additional corpses and bones. It does feel like this flies a bit in the face of the Necromancer power fantasy of having an army of undead instead of just a single thrall following you around. You also lose the temporary hit points and the proficiency bonus that you gave to your thralls. Instead, you get to cast Summon Undead, which creates a single undead spirit, and you can choose to regain hit points equal to half its hit points, but it loses those hit points when you do. You can only cast this once without expending a spell slot per long rest. Necromancy Wizard at level 6 also gets a new feature called Grave Power that lets you clear 1 level of exhaustion when using Arcane Recovery, and any damage from your wizard spells or features ignore resistance to necrotic damage. The Necromancer Wizard's old level 10 and 14 features are also brand new, throwing out the 2014 versions of Inured Death, which gave necrotic resistance, you get that at level 3, and made you immune to max HP reduction effects. You can no longer bring other undead under your control via the 2014 capstone command Undead. Instead, now at level 10, you get Undead Secrets, which lets you expend a level 4+ spell slot to protect yourself from death. Doing so means until you finish a long rest, the next time you fall to 0 hit points, you instead change that to a number equal to 10 times the spell level you expended. In addition, after you take damage and are bloodied from that damage, you can use a reaction, if you're not killed outright, to teleport 60 feet away. When you do so, you deal 2d10 necrotic damage to each creature in a 10-foot emanation from where you left. Interestingly, this feature has rules as written that limits the first effect to happening once, when it says the first time you're reduced to 0 hit points, but the second effect has no such language. It just says when you are bloodied from an attack, you get to teleport. That's really good if you don't mind getting hit every so often and, staying near the bloodied range. Necromancy Wizard's new level 14 capstone feature, Death's Master. This allows you to use a bonus action to give your undead minions temporary HP equal to your wizard level, and a minion can only benefit from this once every 24 hours. And when you use Grim Harvest, the creature that gets temporary hit points also gets either advantage on attack rolls until the end of their next turn, or advantage on the next saving throw they make before then. Like all other wizard subclasses, Transmutation Savant throws out the golden time discounts that you would normally get for spells related to your school of magic when copying them into your spellbook, and instead just gives you more spells of that school for free at certain levels. To start, Transmuter Stone is granted at level 3 instead of level 6, and you create the stone during a long rest instead of just taking 8 hours whenever to do so. The other update to one of the properties is that if you already have dark vision and you take that property on your stone, it now extends your dark vision out by 60 feet. At level 3, Transmuter Wizards gain Wondrous Enhancement, which allows you to cast enhanced abilities once without a spell slot, and the target of your enhance ability gets advantage on saving throws in addition to the spell's usual effects based on the ability you choose. A great buff for an already great spell. Transmutation Wizard's old level 2 feature, Minor Alchemy, is gone. While I'm sure some players had fun with this in roleplay type encounters, overall the 1 hour limit, the concentration, and restriction on material type made it niche, and I'd personally take Wondrous Enhancement over it myself. At level 6, a new feature called Split Transmutation allows you to target one additional creature with transmutation spells that can increase their number of targets if you cast it at a higher spell slot. You can use it a number of times equal to your intelligence mod. One of the features that Transmutation Wizard is losing from 2014, the level 10 feature Shape Changer. Now this used to let you cast a free polymorph on only yourself without a spell slot, and only up to a CR1 creature or lower. This is being replaced by Potent Stone at level 10. With Potent Stone, when you make your Transmuter Stone, you can choose 2 properties to put on the stone, but you can't stack 2 of the exact same effect. So you could have 2 resistances, such as acid and fire damage, but you can't get speed plus 20. The Transmuter Wizard's Capstone feature at level 14 has been revised and is less powerful. You can destroy your Transmuter Stone and choose one of the following effects. You can cast Raise Dead with no spell slot as before, and de-age someone by up to 30 years, but it doesn't change their life expectancy. But you can no longer do Major Transformation and transmute a non-magical object smaller than a 5-foot cube into another object of the same size, mass, and value. And instead of removing all curses, diseases, and poisons affecting a creature and restoring them to maximum hit points, you can end one curse, such as a cursed attunement, and restore hit points equal to twice your wizard level. I'm curious to know what you think about these changes. What do you like? What do you hate? And if you could make your own changes, what would they be? Leave your comments below, and remember to head to D&D Beyond and fill out the survey starting on July 3rd. Your voice could help determine which changes go into effect and which are thrown out. And please hit the like and subscribe button for more if you made it to the end, and check out Cloaks and Capes on Patreon.